All right.
Okay.
We are going live on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. So, do I speak?
We can let people in.
All right, we have two familiar faces.
Let them in.
You can start letting folks in.
I told Vedant, like anyone comes out, throw them out.
Admitted all.
Okay, Rahul.
Very good morning, everyone. I want to start off by thanking everyone for the positive response, and let's give it a few minutes for everybody to join. Please hang on. Thank you. Hi, everyone. We are going to give a few more minutes for people to join. Thanks for your patience. All right, guys, it's 5 past 11. Let's get started with the program. Once again, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our annual Career Fair Chalk Talk. I'm Lika Paneerselvam. I'm the Vice President of ASEI. I am an electrical engineer by profession. I work with Hughes Network Systems. Here we have a lineup of panelists who are going to share industry secrets and insights how to hack a career fair and maximize your chances of in landing job offers. Again, once again, thanks for joining us. I'm pretty sure you're gonna like take a lot of tips and tricks uh, home when the session ends. And before we introduce our panelists, here we have Venkat to give us a short intro about ACI, like who are we and what are we doing for the society. And yes, Venkat, over.
Yep. Hey, thank you, Lekha. All right. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to meet you all virtually, and it's wonderful to be here back at the university, at least virtually for now. Maybe hopefully in person sometime in the future. I'm Venkat. I very proudly lead the ASEI Washington DC chapter. Apart from this, I am a cybersecurity consultant. I help the Fortune 500 sort their cybersecurity stuff out. I also lift, golf, and I ski during the winters. Right. So before we get into this, I want to take a quick moment to thank Lisa Laverne from the UMG Career Services Center. She's been wonderful. Lisa, if you're on call, if you tuned in, thank you so much for your help, for your guidance, and for all the effort that you made to make this event a success. Thank you, Lisa. And moving on, right? So ASCI. So what is ASCI? ASCI is an organization that was started in the 80s to bring together a community of engineers to serve the community of engineers that made them who they are. Right now, we are nationwide with multiple chapters spanning across the nation, all the way from Washington, D.C. to Silicon Valley, to Michigan, so on, and so on. Right? We're building as we speak now. Right? Our mission today is to align with the very foundational pillars to serve the community that made us who we are. Right? Not so long ago, the panelists here, my team, and myself were a bunch of students embarking on a journey very similar to what you have, to start and establish a career in this country, to make a name for ourselves. And then little did we know that the amount of intricacies and challenges that we would face would a little overwhelm us now and then, right? So, what we hoped for was some form of guidance, some form of someone to look up to, right? And that's where ASCI came in. We are here to provide that support, that guidance, and that mentorship we desired, we hoped for, and we ached for, right? Not just by this event, we have a series of events which are very career focused planned throughout the year. And we're going to be talking some more about that as we progress through today's event, and also giving you guys some insights on how US students can be involved, the history of what ASCI has had at the University of Maryland, and how we plan to progress. Right now, back to Lekha and getting into the event. Thanks for the time, Lekha.
Thanks, Venkat. Yeah, the first session is gonna be a discussion session, like a Q&A session with the panelists. And the second session is going to be a Q&A session with the audience, where audience are allowed to like post some questions on the chat window, and we will be discussing those questions. And please remain on mute. Okay, let me start with the panelist introduction. First, we have Hasmi. He's a recent graduate from UMD, also my coworker. He works as hardware engineer at Hughes Network Systems again. He recruits at the fall and spring ECE career fairs. His hobbies include cycling and gaming. As a teammate, he's an effective and proactive team member. I can give him that. And thanks, Hasmi, for joining us. Next, we have Kalyani. She completed her bachelor's in architecture from Cummins, Pune, back in India, and here MS in construction management from Colorado State University. Currently, she's working as a project engineer in the performance contracting group. She loves to travel and do live sketching. Again, thanks, Kalyani. Next, we have Vaitheshwar Ramasubramaniam working as a material scientist in Columbia, Maryland. He got his bachelor degree in petrochemicals from Anna University, Chennai, and master's and PhD in chemical engineering at the University of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Apart from research, he has an endless passion for cricket. He represented his college team during his bachelor's, and now he is actively playing cricket in US. Thanks, Vaiti. Next online we have is Tanvi Sharma, software development engineer at AWS, Amazon Web Services. She moved to the US in 2016 to pursue her MS in telecommunications at UMD again, class of 2018 graduate. She joined ASEI in the month of Jan this year, and she's the executive leader, member of executive leadership for the DC chapter. She's also a certified yoga teacher. She married her fellow TERP, and UMD not only provided her with qualification but also a partner. Welcome, Tanvi. And next we have Ved. He retired as a director of systems integration from IBM after 29 years of service, and he has been in US for more than 50 years. And also he's a life member of ASEI since 2014, and he has been active ever since. And he bagged 2 degrees in EE and CES master's degree from UMD in the year 1970 and 1979 respectively. And also he's a proud father of 2 successful children. Welcome, Ved. Um, yeah, now before any further delay, I'll jump into the questions. I hope all the panelists are ready to answer. Let me start with the first question. And this is to Hashmi. Hashmi, as a representative of a company, on what criteria do you filter the resumes?
Well, before we get started, I want to thank you, Lekha, for that amazing introduction. But when I'm in the career fair, there are a lot of things I look for, but one of the main things I hope candidates highlight is their work experience. It definitely shows they've come from, they're able to successfully navigate the corporate environment, and it definitely highlights their time management and other skills. That doesn't really, it shows like they've gone the extra mile. I know with students, it can become a kind of challenging to show their technical experience. So I highly recommend them to go out and do extracurricular activities like maybe a blog, campus clubs, definitely other things outside the classroom, maybe a project that highlights their skills. I know a lot of successful students have GitHub accounts with many projects they can share on the spot, which I think is amazing. One thing I always recommend students is always have a specific resume that highlights your skills for the job you're trying to apply to. I know a lot of students have this all-in-one resume they want to present to all the jobs they have. It doesn't always work out. It really shows effort when they have this specific resume tailored to the job that they're applying to. And you know, when I'm looking for an analog engineer, or if I see a machine learning resume, it just shows like they've not put in enough effort. So like going that extra mile, putting in that effort, showing their skills in a concise manner definitely sets them apart from other candidates.
Thanks, Hashmi. Next question to Tanvi. What was the journey and where did you decide on software development?
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. So software development was, before I came to the US, I was working at Ericsson and I was a wireless RF engineer, and I was very curious about the design and development of the wireless protocols. So when I came to the US to do my master's in telecommunication, I tried to choose courses which were leaning towards programming or had some level of programming in them. And in my internship, which was again in telecommunication, I kind of expressed a firm desire to my teammates that I wanted to get into programming. So that's where the journey began. And once they gave me opportunity, I really took on it. And I started grooming my skills, learning different languages, taking on projects of cloud computing, contributing to open source codes in GitHub, learning certifications, and really interacting with the people and from the software development community. And within 1 year of my first job, I started to see myself as a software developer. So, yeah.
Thanks, Tanvi, for the answer. And next, the question goes to our resident scientist, Vaitheshwar. What is the goal of a PhD student in a career fair? Uh, okay, yeah, you can go ahead now. We're on mute.
Yeah. So usually the companies that comes to career fair don't hire for an R&D position. So as a PhD student or a candidate, you should look at this career fair as an opportunity for networking. So you can go to the company representative, give your resume, share your experience, but you should try to get the contact of the R&D team. And I would personally write an email to the R&D representative explaining your research work. And in case if you are a PhD student, you can ask for internship opportunities directly to the R&D representative. You should just use this career fair as a platform, and you can even mention that representative who come to the career fair as a person who referred him. And in case if you're a PhD candidate, you can even ask for a phone call. Usually not many people accept a phone call from a random person, but if you give this career fair as an reference platform, and if you can even try to get the email of that representative who came to the career fair, and if you can CC him in the email, and if you write a well-written email with a good resume, you can try to get a phone call. And this is how I use a career fair to develop my work experience and to get an opportunity into industry, like an internship or a full-time job. But for a PhD student, career fair is not a direct platform to get a job.
Thanks, Vaiti. Now, to Ved, from your extensive experience, can you answer what do you look for in a behavioral interview?
All right. So based on my many years of interviewing candidates and hiring candidates, going to job fair, let me take a little bit overall picture here before I get into behavioral interviews. So there are basically two requirements for any job. One is whether you're eligible, is eligibility, and that's simply whether you meet the qualifications, like whether you have the degree or master's degree or electrical engineering or whatever they need. Sometimes it's just a driver's license not for our type of job, but different type of job. So that's just eligibility, and usually it comes out in your resume quite well. The second one, which is more important, is competencies. Now, there are three types of competencies. Let's talk about first knowledge competency. Knowledge competency is simply just what you're supposed to know or what they expect you to know in order to do the job. And that's like whether you know Java, whether you can do the design, or you can take a leadership role or something of the sort. That's a knowledge competency. The second one that I want to talk about is motivation. When you go to interview, make sure you project yourself as highly motivated. Don't be nonchalant. I mean, try to show that you are interested. You'll do a good job if you get a chance, and that you are willing to learn, keen to learn. So the motivation is what the employers are looking for, because if you're not motivated, they don't think you'll do a job that they want you to do. But the most important, competency is the behavior competency. The behavior competency is something that you have shown in the past. It's based on your past behavior. So remember the word STAR, S-T-A-R, STAR. And that reminds you what goes with the behavior competency. S and T stands for situation or task. Now, this is a specific situation that you're in, or a specific task that you're given, that you're supposed to take the next thing, A is action. So you're supposed to take some action for the specific task, and the recruiter wants you to tell him or her, when you had this kind of task, what kind of actions did you actually take or did not take? Because that's what he or she wants to know. And the next thing, R, is the results. And that's what the outcome of your actions were. And that determines your past behavior. And that's what the recruiter uses to determine your future behavior for the task that you're supposed to be doing at work. So behavior is a big and most important aspect of the interview. So you need to practice on it. It requires a lot of practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ved. Next, getting back to Hashmi, how do you manage pursuing a master's degree while doing a full-time job?
That is an excellent question. And I like to say it comes down to passion. I feel like my job and the degree I'm pursuing both align very well with my passions. And it becomes a challenge of time management. I know I'm very motivated. I try to stay on top of my tasks, but it definitely becomes a time management challenge where I give myself goals every week that I always have to hit, and I try to stay as goal oriented as possible. I try to manage my resources such that I'm always meeting my deadlines and prioritizing tasks. I would definitely not recommend anyone going down this path if they don't have the passion for what they're studying and what they're doing. But at the end, it's very rewarding, and it definitely shows like you're able to handle um, multiple tasks at once, and it shows you have a lot of passion and skills at the same time. So it definitely does come down to time management and motivation.
Thanks for your answer, Hashmi. Now, next question to Tanvi Sharma. What course and skill set did you exhibit in case you need to pivot your career path?
Oh, that's a good question. Before I come to what I actually did to learn things, I really want to emphasize that how you're learning it and what you're really learning. Because anytime you try to pivot your career path, you have to learn new things. And don't just do it in a very ad hoc way. Do your research, try to figure out, talk to people. Even in career fair, reach out to the companies that have that role that you want and ask them, like, what are the requirements they're looking for? How are they judging the people, and what skills they are wanting to see in a resume? And that will give you insight on what needs to be learned. And from there on, you can prioritize what you have on your plate and then work through them. And there are a lot of online courses. You can reach out to the people that in those roles and ask them how you basically learn those skills. Go to GitHub projects, open source projects, even university courses. So take your time, and I can't emphasize this enough. Be persistent. So it takes time to get there, but you eventually do. So that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Tanvi. Next, going back to Vaiteshwar, what is the difference between the resume of a thesis and non-thesis candidate? You are on mute, Vaiti, again.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's a really good question. To start with, there is a common myth that resume should be one page. This works well for a non-thesis student, and of course, it should be within a page. But for a non-thesis student, it's good to have a 2-page or a 3-page resume, depending on their research experience. So for a non-thesis student, even if they have a prior work experience, they should put their research experience before that. So their first page of the resume should look something like this. They should have their education section, followed by their skills, followed by the research experience, and then the work experience. And in the research experience section, they should give a catchy research statement. It should be a one-liner, just explaining what they did in the research. And this should be followed by a few points where they should explain their thesis using some action verbs. They should use words like analyzed, produced, modeled, derived. Depending on their stream, they can use their action verbs. But these are some of the key things they should note while writing the research experience section. And if it's a fresh student who graduated from bachelor's and coming into the master's or PhD level, they can add their internship experience as a work experience, or if they have prior work experience, that should follow the research experience section. And the second page should pretty much have these following sections. One is the leadership and teamwork section. So as a research student, you're pretty much a part-time worker. So it's not that you're just going to apply for a job with your academic skills, but you are also going to showcase your overall professional ability as a person as well. So the roles you take, the challenges you come across, all should be put in your resume. And this section should be followed by conference presentations and publications. So one thing that keeps a research student or a PhD or a master's student in a marketers, their publications. So whatever paper you publish, with the recent one on the top, you should list all them. And you can also list all the conference presentations. And after this, you should put all your awards and achievements. This can be even a travel grant. So being a graduate student, you would have got several grants like travel grants, research grants, and you could have been a part of any student association. All this should come in the awards and achievement section. Yeah, this is our 2-page resume for a master's student should look, and it might even go to a 3-page for a PhD student.
Thanks, Vaiti. Before jumping into the next question, again, an announcement. We encourage audience to post their questions in the chat window so that we can discuss during our next Q&A session. Yep. Now we can go to the next question, which is going to be answered by Ved. How do you make an impactful conversation in a career fair? Like during the career fair, what are the things you look for in a candidate?
So based on my experience, I've been to many career fairs for recruiting. Usually it's like a zoo. I mean, there are so many people standing and running around. So you have to be very careful as to how you present yourself. First, of course, is that you have to dress professionally. Don't overdo anything, but don't go in a torn up jean either, because that doesn't look good either. Wait for your turn. Don't be too anxious to get to the front of the line, because everybody's actually watching you, what you're doing. Know who you're talking to. Usually, if you stand there in the line for a few minutes, you can figure out whether the guy or the girl who's recruiting is or talking to you is an HR person or engineer. A lot of times they just send an HR person who doesn't know beans about programming or electrical engineering or anything. So you have to make sure what you say, he or she will be able to understand properly. So that's very important. Also, you have to know who you're going to talk to, what kind of work the company does. And that's important because you need to be presenting yourself as knowledgeable. Then again, the next thing is when you get a chance to talk to him, speak clearly and slowly. Don't talk too fast. Indians typically talk very fast. So, you got to slow down a little bit. And speak with confidence. I mean, you know what you're saying. Just don't start wombling and that you have no idea what you're talking about. But make sure you're still polite and not too arrogant or anything. Then, of course, the crux of the things coming, you have to describe yourself. In few words, describe you're a graduate student, you'll be graduating in 2022 or June or something, you're looking for this. That's just a few words will tell you what you're looking for. So that person will be able to categorize your resume where to send it to, because he may be sending it to somebody else. He may not be the person hiring you. And then you want to tell him or her a couple of things that he would focus on, he would remember, or maybe write down some things. Hey, this guy is very good. He has a 4.0 GPA. And not only that, I mean, he designed a system to land an aircraft on Mars or something like, so something that sticks out in his mind and he can remember it. And of course, when you're doing all that, make yourself motivated. Show that, hey, you are anxious to start working. Now, we talked about resume, and we'll probably talk about a lot more. When you're coming out of college, maybe the first time looking for a job, your resume may be 1 page, which mine was when I started with IBM. But the last job that I had, my resume was like 15 pages. So, the resume changes based on how much experience you have, what kind of job you're looking for. And so everything that you say or do is based on where you're coming from. If you're just coming out of fresh undergraduate student, don't present yourself as the expert in everything to the interviewer, because that's not going to look appropriate. So you would know once you've gone through a few how to present yourself, and you'll have experience, and you can do that at home and at your workplace or somewhere to get some experience. Thank you.
Thanks, Ved. Now we have the fifth panelist, who's Kalyani, and also who had the most success in career fair. Could you tell us how to prepare for a career fair, Kalyani?
Sure, Lekha. Hi, everyone. First of all, very happy to be here. To answer the question, I think it's the perfect question for me, first place, because I just recently graduated. I know the perks of getting into career fair, with even being in-person career fair or online career fair. So during later in question and answer session, if you want to ask me specifically about how the online career fair works, do let me know. Getting back to the answer, my first focus is always, let's consider this is going to be like a 2 or 3 days of preparation for your career fair. First day being, you have to do your homework. Okay, research companies that are coming in, right? Let's say you're considering career fair app. You already have the list of companies. You want to focus on what are your interests and what the company is going to offer you, right? So do your research, do your homework. Second thing that you want to do a day before is prep your resume very well. Make sure, Ananta already mentioned it, how to elaborate on that. So make sure it is to the point, concise, just 1 page, because people don't have time to, go through 2-3 pages of a resume. It should be easy to read, very narratable. It kind of should be a storyline, very creative. Make sure it is, going to be something out of the box. Define your interests and skills in your resume. Again, at the same time, you want to be, you need to update your LinkedIn profile or any other profiles that you have. Let's say your university has, a specific profile of yourself. So update that, because companies do watch out and do observe what you are doing on your profiles, right? So do update all those profiles. The very specific example that I want to give here is my vice president was very impressed with me when I had mentioned on LinkedIn that what my contributions were there apart from my work. So, mention whatever you're doing. Let's say your interest about, hobbies or social work. Social work is like a very big thing for them. So my VP was very impressed with that factor. Now, once you're done with your resume, once you're done with your homework about companies and one-on-one whom you're going to talk to, once you enter into the career fair, you should be knowing in your head that, okay, these are the companies that I'm going to go and talk to, and these are the points that I'm going to refer to, right? So do your homework. Let's say now today is your career fair. Okay, now you want to make sure that you are going to present very well. Okay, that talks about your personality. We being Indians, we are very intelligent, but I should not say that out loud, but sometimes we lack in confidence, right? So feel free to, give yourself that freedom of, okay, I'm confident, I'm gonna be very good at this. Okay, so make sure you're confident enough. Business attire should be there. Impressive conversation skills. Make sure like your vocabulary is going to be very professional, and you'll be standing out for sure, considering all these points. Now talking about pitch, we'd already mentioned about how to go ahead with pitch, but one thing that I would like to point out here is your pitch and your resume should narrate in the same flow. right? They'll be reading your resume, and at the same time, they'll be listening to what you're saying. And at that point, they make notes on your resume. So please make sure the narration in your resume and your pitch is going to be in the same flow. And whatever is not mentioned or maybe not emphasized on resume is going to be your point. Okay, when you talk, something that is very interesting and very, that is going to make you stand out, say that out loud, which is maybe already mentioned on the resume, but they might not read it in that like quick 10 seconds, right? So say that out loud, and probably they'll take notes on that. They definitely go through after the career fair, they definitely go through the pile of resume that they have, and whatever notes that they have made, they focus on that. So definitely go ahead and say things which are, making you stand out. um, Last point here that I would like to say is, always bring up the conversation about the company. Okay, you want to be confident, and at the same time you want to be humble. You want to show them that, okay, this has been my journey so far, but yet I'm still interested in these topics, yet I'm interested in learning about these things. So since your company has the same interest as me, so please consider me. Okay, so you want to be humble, and you want to be, uh, before they ask you that, okay, do you know anything about our company, before making them saying that, just say that, okay, I have read about your company, this is the things that I'm interested in, and that we share the same interest, so bring that conversation up even before they ask you. That is like the plus point for your career fair, right? To sum it up, I don't know why people say career fair is never helpful, but it was the best thing that I could ever have. Simple students like us who are like, first of all, like international, and then you have to like suffer through so many factors here. Finding a job can be difficult, so but trust me, do take career fair seriously. They can turn out to be a very good source for you for a good job. So I attended 4 career fairs, 1 in person and 3 online career fairs, and I got 5 offers, 1 my internship and 3 my full-time jobs. So definitely I would recommend you all to prepare well for career fairs, and please give it a shot and do your best. Good luck.
Thanks, Kalyani, for that elaborate answer. And we're going to end the panelist Q&A session here. And next, we are going to jump into discussing questions from the audience. And again, I think panelists are ready for this. Yep. We have one question for Anand here regarding work experience for grad students interested in research roles. Are industry R&D internships in general considered necessary along with university research? Are employers looking for this when hiring grad students for research roles? Anand, can you unmute yourself? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good question. And in US, how it works is, most of the universities will get funding from the companies, from the top companies. So most of the projects are company funded. And during the second or third year of a PhD student, or after the first year for a master student, the company themselves might take a student as an intern and let him work on few projects in the company environment or the facility in the company. But apart from that, in general, if your research work is in line with the company, let's say the field you are working with is one of the hot research topic that's going in that company, you might not need a prior internship experience. Because as I said earlier, a research student by himself is a part-time worker. So whatever you do in your university, it all counts as your work experience, which is the research experience. So an internship is not necessary for a thesis student, but in case, let's say if your project is just funded by the university, or if no other industry is involved in your project, it's good to have an industrial experience. In that case, yeah, you can look for internship in industries, and that might be helpful when you look for a full-time job.
Yep. Thanks, Vaiti. Next, we have an interesting question. How to approach a company where the queue is long, as you need to make an impact at that point? I think Kalyani will be the best person to answer this. Kalyani?
Okay, great question. First, I want to make sure whatever that long queue is for, I am interested in that company. Of course, I have to be. And yeah, I will wait for my chance. Okay. So sometimes what happens is when there is a big line and you don't have like next, let's say 10-15 minutes, they are going to be busy. Take a walk around other companies. You just try and talk to other companies in that time, but make sure after 10 minutes you come back and stand there. So don't go anywhere from there. And if you're like very much interested in that company, then you don't even have to take a walk and just save your time, just stand there. But I would say that frankly speaking, I have, let's say that 10 companies in my mind, right? So if there is like, okay, I'll be having a priority set up that this is my high priority, medium priority. And if that company is like my medium priority, I would not like waste my 10 minutes. I'll go and talk to other companies and then I'll come back. So set up your priority, and that's how you will approach. If you want to have a talk with that company, stay there, have patience, and then you can, I think, be the first person in the line.
Thanks, Kalyani. We have another question. What are the do's and don'ts during interacting with people at the career fair? The guy with more experience in career fairs, Hashmi, can you help people with this question?
Yeah. So the do's and don'ts, I would definitely say be confident, but don't be overconfident. Always have, as soon as someone gets your resume, they'll try to look over it as quickly as possible. But try to have a one or two liner that explains yourself really quickly, super fast, and highlights your skills. Research the company ahead, definitely. If they spend the time talking about their company to you, you will not be able to get your point across. Try to say like, hey, I read about this role. I think these past experiences of mine would make me suitable for this, and try to engage in the conversation where you showed you've done your research and why you would be a good fit. Also, one thing I would say is always try to have your resume prepared such that most of the answers are available there. Try to bring up skills that highlight you very well. And again, one thing I would always recommend is try to be patient. The people in the career fair go through a lot of people, and they might not have too much time for you. Ask them if you can have a follow-up in the future. If they do offer it, if they give you their card or something. Don't pressure them. Just if they do, it's always a great step moving forward.
So on
Wonderful.
that, let me make a comment.
Yep.
Since
ahead,
I've
Ved.
been to many career as a recruiter, the recruiters are told, especially when we go to university career fair, not to give out their cards to students, because they know if they give out the card to one student, it'll be copied and distributed among 100 other students. So, and they usually don't have time to handle all these individual emails. So don't count on getting a card from anyone. However, if someone does give you a card, yeah, then she is really interested in you. So that's a good sign. Another good sign is keep 2 copies ready for handing out of your 2 copies of your resume. What happens? The first copy that you give it to the recruiter, it goes to the HR. He doesn't get to keep it. If he's really interested in you, because especially if he or she is an engineer and hiring himself or herself, then she would like to, or he would like to have a copy for himself so he can contact you directly. So be ready to give a second copy if necessary. So these are some of the things that you will learn as you go by, and you have to be ready for many situations that may arise at that time. Thank you.
Thanks, Ved. Since you are on Spotlight, I have a question for you. Any advice to eliminate interview anxiety before career fair?
Well, I get anxiety sometimes, even now after so many years. So there's really no certain way of doing that. The only thing is you can practice interviewing, be relaxed, drink some water and do some exercise before you go there, talk to some friends, and don't be stressed out because this is not the end of the world. Let me, if I take an example here, I had, when I was with Lockheed Martin, I was interviewing a female employee. She was experienced. She got laid off from a company. And she came and she was almost in tears. I mean, she was so much worried. She had a child to take care of and she really wanted a job. And I felt so sorry. I said, you know, I invited you for interview, but the position is not open yet. I just want to talk to you. And she had excellent skills. She was expert in Oracle database. So I gave her advice. I said, listen to me. You are very well qualified. You'll get a very good job, probably even better than this one. Relax. You don't have to worry about yourself, you know, so much. So don't be so much stressed out. So a few days later, I got an email from her saying, thanking me for the advice that I gave her. She was able to get a very good job. So sometimes just relax, you know, things will work out. Maybe not all the time, but enough times that they're good enough for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ved. Now we have a question. Okay, it's for Tanvi. I think Tanvi will be the best person to answer this. What are some ways beyond a resume that a candidate should exhibit? Can you please like elaborate, like blogs, public profiles, GitHub profile, and similar platforms?
So yeah, so one of the questions that was asked before, like if you don't have 1 year of experience or you don't have any experience, how do you, I think it all encapsulates into one, project. So try to get involved in projects, do your own projects, not just the projects of the courses, but try to do projects outside, open source projects. That's something I figured out in my second year of my master's. And even if you're contributing to some documentation or fixing a small bug, that would still make you be the contributor for that open source project, and you can talk about it. So GitHub profiles is a must. Like if you're a software developer or anything in line with software developing, have a GitHub profile, update your LinkedIn with all kind of skills and all the projects that you have. Certifications is something that you can do if you don't have enough projects or work experience, because that kind of tells the recruiter that you have learned these skills, but they don't really reflect in your coursework. So certifications are good in that way. So you can go for that as well. So I think, yeah, this is what I have done and it has worked out.
Wonderful. Thanks, Tanvi.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we're all immigrants and we got an interesting question here. What should be the answer to the question, do you need a sponsorship now or later to work in the US? And would your resume be auto-rejected if a candidate answers yes? Hashmi?
Sure. I can take this. The answer to the last question is no. Your resume will not be auto-rejected. Everyone here, but even before the candidate or the company asks that question, candidates, especially international students, should do their own research and apply to companies that will sponsor students. Okay, don't waste your time talking to Lockheed Martin, where they need not just U.S. citizenship, they need security clearance from candidates and stuff. If you're an international student, focus on companies that will offer you sponsorship. There are a list of companies that do that, even in career fairs. I know I don't know about other schools, but in UMD they tell you a citizenship required, a sponsorship. We do sponsor and stuff like that. You should research that before and definitely approach those companies. Those should be near the top of your list, or they should be your only list where they are willing to sponsor you. And it does not mean your resume will be auto-rejected. Everyone here in the panel has jobs, and we all got it. Your resume will not be auto-rejected, definitely. But make sure you apply to companies who are willing to accept international students.
Thanks, Hashmi. We could see that people have lifted their hands in the chat window. Can you also please post your questions there so that we can discuss it now? Thank you. And So Kalyani, is it better to join a startup or a big company starting out of college?
Okay, so the answer can be subjective, first of all. My opinion would be, considering where I come from, I would rather go with a big size company because you get to learn more um, in the construction industry, of course. I can talk about that. And just if, let's say, we are talking about your interest, then you need to decide uh, like what interests you have and how does that match with the company that you're getting offer from. It doesn't matter what the size can be, right? First you need to see if they are offering you so sponsorship. Second that you need to see is your interest. So make your list of what is going to be your target, what is going to be your priority for focusing on companies. So it should not matter. Your interest is your focus, your profile, your skill set should match the company. Maybe that. I hope I answered the question.
Thanks, Kalyani. Um, so, Ved, can you advise people how to come up with an impactful elevator pitch? Less than 2 minutes elevator pitch.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we can talk about the elevator pitch. So basically, elevator pitch is supposed to be typically like 20-30 seconds long. It's not something that happens during a career fair, but it can happen anywhere. And it basically, you get to meet someone that you may or may not know from before, and just first thing you want to do is describe yourself in few words. Remember, you only have 20 seconds or 30 seconds, so it can't anything can't take too long. And then you want to say something that the person will remember. It's very important because he doesn't have anything to write down, and so you have to say something that he will care to remember you, and then maybe contact you later on. And then you have to, of course, tell him or her what is that you want. I mean, he'll remember you, but what are you looking for? Are you looking for a job, looking for a contract, looking for something else maybe? So this is what the elevator pitch is. But one thing you do after the elevator pitch, when the person is gone, is follow up, because that's where the action will take place. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. What kind of research have you done before participating in the career fair? Tanvi, can you answer this?
Yeah, so research, definitely. I think whatever Kalyani said is on point. Like, that's something, if I knew in my first career fair, I would have probably gotten some jobs opportunity. So you have to do your research a week before. You have to start. It takes time. You have to read the latest news, what they are getting involved into. For example, the company I got my internship, I really did a deep research because it was from my interest. And it was in 5G cloud computing. It was such a niche technology that I went in beyond from those company platforms to the technology. I looked into the research papers of it. So research as much as you can. There's no research which is not enough. So
yeah, in that regard, if I can add just a few words here. When I got my job with IBM, there was an article about picture processing. At the University of Maryland, we had a very good picture processing group. So it was an IBM Systems journal, and I had read their article. The author of the article was in Gaithersburg, where I went for interview. So after the interview, I asked if I could talk to that person. The person wasn't available for several hours, but I waited in my car and just talked to him. So sometimes, as Tanvi said, yeah, it does make a difference if you're prepared. You know what they do, you want to talk about them. And I got the job, of course, picture processing for NASA. So, it helps. Thanks.
Yeah, companies are really taken aback, and they really are surprised if you know their functioning of their product. So it really impresses them. So definitely do that.
Can I add something to it, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, know how many employees they have, right? So the company size, their revenue that they generate, right? Do research and do read about all that. They are very proud of their company already, right? So they have their core values and all that. So do go to their websites, check what are their core values. And in the case of my company, that they are employee owned company. So whatever entrepreneurship skill set you have, they always approach it that way. So I was like, okay, these are the skill sets that I have, and I can consider working with you on basis of entrepreneur value that you have. So when you talk like that, and when you portray your skill sets in the way of their values, that will be very beneficial. Like that will be very impressive point. So you can do something like that. Just remember their career, company values, and focus on their company revenue and size.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for answering all the questions. Now we have Venkat to make some announcements. Over to Venkat.
Hey, thanks, Lekha. I know we are 5 minutes before we break for today. But before we break for today, I wanted to take a quick minute to talk to you guys about the ASEI UMD chapter and what impact it has had on us, right? So this is going to be the Washington, D.C. metro area's University of Maryland student chapter, right? A few of the panel members were on here, and including myself, we were part of the UMD student chapter, back when we were students at the University of Maryland, right? And I would vouch to say that for every single one of us, this was life-changing, and for a lot of us, it even paved the way to find our current jobs and internships, right? It was definitely a opportunity for us to sharpen, showcase our leadership skills, right? And then, as you would have heard Kalyani, Wade, and all the other panelists mention, that's something recruiters really look for in your resume and a story during an interview. And it's a basically nice thing to talk about, right? I've heard someone tell me that your hard skills land you the interview, but your soft skills get you the job. And we felt that ASCI is a platform where we were able to develop and nourish these values that we have and these skills that we want to exhibit during our interviews and all of that, right? So we are now excited to bring you this opportunity to the students of the University of Maryland of the current batch, a chance to be a part of the board of the University of Maryland chapter. We are now in the 2021 fiscal year, and we are hoping that some of you here who've joined us throughout the past hour would be able to take the ASCI values and then have a society or a community set up at the University of Maryland. And we really think this would be an opportunity for us to have more interactive connections, make the right contacts, provide, from our end, the Washington, D.C. chapter, we are focused on providing guidance, mentorship, and all the, advice that, we felt that it would have helped when we were students, right? So we'll be sending out a short Google form after our meeting today on via email. Please be on the lookout for that. It goes on questions like personal information and also questions to help us make a decision on why you would be a good fit for this leadership role that we are, we have open for this year, right? So please be on the lookout for that. And I think we have a few more questions coming in. We have a couple of minutes before our 12 o'clock mark.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
another
over to you,
question.
Lekha. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Venkat, for all the announcements. We have one more question from the audience. Between a person who is highly skilled but not so much motivated and the other one who has average skill but are very motivated, who do you think will be chosen for a job? Ved or Hasmi?
Yes, I have had a lot of experience in doing this. I would definitely hire the person who is motivated. Remember, you don't need the most brilliant person in the world for every job that you have. One manager told me once a long time ago, it takes all kind of people to run a company. And so if you may not be the best skilled person, but if you got the motivation, you'll get it done. And that's where I'll hire. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Wade. I think we are done with all the questions, and thank you once again for joining us today. And we're a bunch of fun-loving engineers. Please reach out to us. We can help you in any way possible. Thank you. Have a happy weekend.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
Leka.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank
We'll be
you.
sending out
Thanks
an
a
email
lot.
with
Thank you,
the
guys.
panelist contact information or LinkedIn for any of you guys to connect. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you, everyone.
Lekha.
Bye, everybody.
Good luck to all the students.
Good luck.
In a 3 years of my work experience, it would be better for gaining good in industry. What are your views, sir? I am looking for some good mentors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bowman, for your question.